Well, hello there. This is Dirk Derringer, and it's good to see you again. I'm going to talk to you for a little bit about some things that I learned about that mutant chicken that we had in the park earlier. Turns out that I was a little bit off. I mean, not off in the fact that, scaly dinosaurs look awesome, but I was off about Dakotaraptor. It's not some giant mutant chicken. That's Barbara Dixon's take on it, and well, she's not a scientist, is she? But that's neither here nor there. It turns out that Dakotaraptor is a real raptor, and it's a real big raptor. And by the way, when we say raptors, what we really mean is a dromaeosaur, or at least that's how we scientists talk about it. The Dakotaraptor is the second largest dromaeosaur known, so it's a real big guy, for a raptor that is. So I wasn't making up the giant part, but these dromaeosaur-type dinosaurs are distinct from birds. In fact, the earliest known dromaeosaur that we found and described as a species is not nearly as old as what we traditionally consider the first bird, Archaeopteryx. Now, we think that dromaeosaurs showed up sometime in the middle, maybe even the early Jurassic, and they probably have a common ancestor with birds, but it's best to think of them more like bird cousins. That makes them incredibly bird-like, but they're definitely not chickens. So what are they? Well, they are definitely dinosaurs, but they're dinosaurs with some unusual features, like feathers. They're also really known for having these great big sickle claws on their feet. Scientists originally thought that they were used for slashing, but recent tests on that idea have called that function into question. It seems now that it's more likely that they were used for maybe a death grip, or even more likely, for climbing things. Now, I know Dakotaraptor might seem a little bit on the hefty side to be climbing up into a tree, but in terms of weight, it probably wasn't all that much bigger than a lion, and modern lions do indeed climb trees. Dakotaraptor lived in the late Cretaceous in the same environment as Tyrannosaurus rex. And let me tell you, if you're tangling with the king of dinosaurs, you gotta have a really good survival strategy, and climbing up into a tree might not be such a bad idea. Now, unlike Utahraptor, Dakotaraptor was built for speed. It was one of the faster raptors despite its size, so far as we can tell. However, at this point, we only have 2 skeletons that we've recovered, and both of them were fairly incomplete. So we don't know exactly what its abilities were or its survival strategy. However, given that it's a large raptor that could run fast, it was probably going after some of the prey that Tyrannosaurus rex couldn't go after, like Ornithomimus, which you can see on this side of the river. Kind of ostrich-looking guys. Anyway, I do have to admit that I was wrong about them being scaly. They do have feathers, and it appears that the only evidence that we have for that are some bumps along the forearm. Those bumps were caused by the feathers actually attaching to the forearm, and we see this sometimes in large birds like eagles or buzzards. So apparently these quill knobs, as they're called, form when those feathers are under stress. So not only can we say that Dakotaraptor had those feathers, but it also seems that they were using them in a stressful way. Now, if they were climbing trees, maybe they were somehow flapping their way up the trunk of a tree, as well as using those claws to walk up it. Probably looked pretty silly, and so I guess in an artistic sense you could say that Dakotaraptor at least did chicken dances while I was climbing the trees. But otherwise, it was a tried and true dinosaur, and it meant business. Now, just a couple of other notes on Dakotaraptor that are kind of interesting. First, Dakotaraptor's discovery was announced the day before Halloween in 2015. That's cool because savage dinosaur like that found around Halloween, awesome. And of course 2015 and Halloween rhymes, so that's kind of fun too. The other thing I'd like to talk about with Dakotaraptor, and about all the dinosaurs you've been seeing today has to do with what we call them. You see, when paleontologists describe a species, they're just doing it on the shape of bones. But when we have a living animal, even if we can see the bones, there's no way for us to know whether we got it right. It doesn't matter if we're making clones or 3D printing them or using radiation to bring them back. We just don't have a frame of reference to say what the original dinosaur would have been like. So, is our dinosaur a recreation? There's no way to tell. We'll call them by the names that seem to fit those skeletons the best because it gives us a handy frame of reference. But I just wanted to let you know that we're not 100% sure that the Dakotaraptor walking around the park is the same thing that you would find if you went in a time machine back to the Cretaceous when Dakotaraptor actually lived. It could be a completely different animal, and we just happen to find something sort of like it. Science can be kind of tricky that way.